Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, and this time painting a Corollary from the Convergence of Cyriss faction of Warmachine. Starting off with 09198 Tarnished Brass. This one's about cash, but I do have a spare on hand. That actually might be enough. Okay. So this is one model where I had to do partial assembly because trying to paint it with it glued to the flight stand would muck up the flight stand and overall cover up the translucence of that. Translucent plastic of that. So the Corollary is a focus battery, basically a light vector, which is what the Convergence call their warjacks. And unlike most warjacks, it does not purge focus at the start of it, or unspent focus at the start of its turn, rather hangs onto it and can transfer it to other vectors. In addition, it gains focus when it starts its turn within a set range of its controlling warcaster. And basically can help free up a ton of focus so that the warcaster can put more effort into spells than anything else, which is really overkill to a certain extent given how focus efficient the Convergence is in the first place. There's something kind of funny about this paint, so I'm having to thin out a lot more than usual. I'm not sure what's going on, but deal with it. This is also a very simple paint job. Now this is pretty close to what's considered the official color scheme, but I am doing this just a little darker. So that triad of tarnished brass, old bronze, age pewter for the bronze here will work pretty well. And for the, if you want to do the chrome, I do tarnished steel, true silver, and then pearl white, if I'm thinking the correct name, with sky blue on your lighting. I do a variant mostly because I didn't really like the chrome all that much, and I already do the light blue lighting on my Signar, so I want to do something else. You'll see what I end up doing in a minute here. This is kind of mixing funny. I don't know what's going on. I might have to do a second coat. Yeah, that is not... This is definitely strange. But regardless, this is one of the most useful and nastiest models, well, support models in probably the entire game, just because it pushes an already awesome / annoying aspect of the Convergence even further. And in these games, what is often awesome for a person playing the faction will be annoying for someone going against that faction. In the case of Convergence, it is their efficiency with focus that lets them cast a high number of spells and still get literally everything out of their warjacks they can. This is also a little tricky because of how this model kind of rests. We may have to give that a second coat. We'll just let it sit a bit and see what happens once that's dried. I'm more limited than usual on how much I can do just because of the fact I don't have a base to rest it on yet. Well, and while I'm there, I may as well go ahead and 09039 Rainy Gray and get started on the base. No reason not to, since it's got to just hang out for a while. I've kind of test fitted this on its contact point half a dozen times or more to figure out how I wanted it. So I think something like this for a start will work. So let that dry. Move on a bit. Okay, next up, Tarnished Steel 0920. Oh wait, no, yep, this is it. 09206. I was getting a little mixed up there. So I got to do this in 2 steps because of the way the model's configured. So whoa, so, and I've caused a little avalanche off camera. Boy. And this is out here for a reason. So if you want the official color scheme, you'd be using true silver at this stage and using the tarnished steel as a shader. Now that divot right there is where the ball at the end of the flight stand glues into, so I'm going to kind of avoid that as best I can. It will cause problems during final assembly if I don't. Yeah, this is very tricky just because I have an awkward grip on the just tip top of the model here. This is what happens sometimes when you're having to do this. It's much easier when you've got a solid base to cling on to, but that's not possible right here, not without mucking up the flight stand, which I would like to keep clear, completely crystal clear translucent, if at all possible. Okay. Just going to very carefully set that down. Missed a spot here on the other underside there. Okay, that's good for now. And while that sets, I'll go ahead and get the arc started on the base. It's going to be about like this. And pure black 09037. Or rather, not started, but finished. I test fitted the Corollary on this flight stand many times, and this is about the best way of doing it, I think. So I'll get that arc defined. And again, this specific cutting mat put out by Privateer, I cannot stress enough how useful it is for getting arcs painted. That is one of the trickiest things, and it's not always easy to eyeball it. In fact, I've got some older models where the arcs are absolutely awful. Okay, that's got that done. So now all I would need to do is flock the base and glue the Corollary on once I'm finished. Uh-oh. Okay, so this end is dry enough. I think I can go ahead and finish up the steel here. We won't need that anymore. Now the reason I always do the basing stuff dead last is, well, that is the wrong color, is because your shading and sometimes even the highlighting can go wild and get on areas you don't want it. And it's just easy since it's so flat to do the base last. I mean flat in paint job, not physically, which it is anyway. But excuse me. Allergy season is trying to make one last comeback to annoy me before it goes away in the winter. And the coils I'm avoiding because they'll be colored with a lighting effect once I finish the rest of it. I have to take care with how I grip this model, since the paint is not completely dry on some of the underside sections. Okay, that's got all the silver. And next I'm going to be shading. Okay, back in a minute then. Now to start shading, 09205 Blackened Steel. Oh boy, this one's about shot. Might be enough to get the first part done. I have to do this in essentially 4 phases because of the way the, again, the no base 2 rested on, so again, thinning it out about half paint, half water. And we'll just start around this power pack back here. Yeah, so while most warjacks are powered by steam, Convergence vectors and actually Retribution of Cyriss myrmidons are essentially magically powered, drawing upon the energies of the ley lines. And the Convergence essentially creates a grid to harness and direct that energy for themselves to use. While their vectors do have internal batteries that can store this power, they can also run indefinitely in an area a grid affects. And much of the Convergence's efforts are directed towards expanding this grid, which is part of their great work to turn the world into, or to make the world ready for their goddess Cyriss to descend and turn the planet into, quote, the perfect machine. Which is probably not good for anyone out of the Convergence and may not even be good for the members of the Convergence. Though given the conflicts between science and religion in the real world, I find it hilarious that this is a group of religious scientists. So they at least consider the science itself to be a devotional act. Okay, and that's all I can do till this dries, and I can go to the bottom half of this, so I'm gonna have to let that sit for a while. But what I can still do is get started on, excuse me, the basing over here. So, get my glue solution going. And where is my sand? I've been using sand on my Convergence models. Let's see, sacrificial brush. Need more water in this. Yeah. So I've been using static grass and flock on a lot of my Warmachine models. On the Convergence, I went with sand and talus, mostly because of the artwork on their first Forces book, their first faction book, which, well, this is going to be interesting. Okay, let's see. Let's try a different wood because this one's too full of goo. But most of the Forces books, which largely came out in the 2nd edition, showcased a bunch of models from that faction, but to my knowledge, the Convergence one was the only one to show victims of warfare. because among the debris of a town, the convergence have flattened in order to realign the ley lines. You see the body of a soldier, more likely a town guard, and a doll just sitting out there under the on a wall next to a convergent soldier, implying that they had just leveled a city, possibly one densely populated, because nothing stands in the way of the great work. But again, it's the only one showing the evidence of an attack on civilians. And not even Crix, one of the more solidly villainous factions, had something like that on their cover. So, get that in the sand. This takes a little more than usual. I'm not taking any old dry brush available, just dusting off the excess from around the flight stand. Okay. And this still has to dry some more, so we'll just let that go and come back in a bit. Okay, moving on with the Tarnished Steel. 09206. Or no. No, it's not Tarnished, it's Blackened Steel. 09205. I'm getting mixed up. I'm sorry. I am very, very angry right now because my homeowners association is trying to collect my dues for July twice. Just received a bill saying I owe them dues for July when I have already paid and can prove it, and with the deduction for said dues already having been taken out of my accounts through an automatic withdrawal that they kind of insist on. And they do have one complaint with the Better Business Bureau already over the same issue of not properly crediting these dues payments. We'll see how this goes, but I am not going to let them bully me or otherwise collect twice on a bill that has already been paid in full and on time. So, I'm just going to finish this shading up on the steel, and I'll also have to do the bronze in 2 stages as well. So, this is just how this is going to have to go. I'm again trying to avoid that divot where the flight stand will plug into at the end. Yeah. When someone tries to screw you over and make you pay twice for something you've already paid for in full, fight it and do not relent. Okay, once that's dry, I can continue with the shading. But what I can do right now, though, is seal the sand, since that's all dry now. So I won't be marking any numerals on the back of this one because I can only take one corollary as it is an attachment. It gets attached to a Warcaster. And since a Warcaster can only have one attachment, there's no point of having more than one of this model. So again, just drip it in and let the sand and material absorb it. This will make it rock hard and keep the material on the base and nowhere else. Okay. Okay. Back 09197 Old Bronze. And this one I, again, will have to do in 2 steps. because unfortunately I can't get all of it at once, as much as I would like to if I could. Okay, so this is going to be tricky. This may make my shading look a little odd too, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that given the way the model's put together. Not until I get on the base, and I can't do that part till I'm completely done painting. Alright, just gotta get the ends here, which I don't know if this is off camera, but I can't really hold on to the model at this point. Yeah, I'm definitely not on camera, but I don't have a choice. I'm just getting the ends of the little pods at the bottom. So yeah, that's just gonna have to wait a bit. Alright, second half of the bronze, 09197 old bronze. Make sure I'm in camera for this. Okay, once that's dry, I can start getting the lighting effects. Okay, now to start the lighting effects, 09039 pure white. Maybe in camera. Okay. I'm just very, very tired right now. I would very much like to get this done as well. That was not diluted nearly enough. Okay, that should be alright. So I'm getting what would be the eyes and these coils. Making sure I get everything above the little pods here. The reason I'm doing this dead last is because the shading on the other layers would have seeped into this and darkened it. Would have meant I would have had to redo it anyway, so. And there is a pretty good thunderstorm going on right now. Okay, let's see. Actually, that's pretty good, so set that down and let it dry. Then I can do the actual color for the light. Okay, time to do the lighting. So I need to make the color myself. So 09003 blood red. Just a bit of that. And then 09039 pure white. Camera here so I can show this. So always use a palette knife. That will work a lot better than trying to just mix it with your brush. Just a stirring motion. Till you get a nice uniform color. So, using white to a base color will make a tint or brighter version. Using black will make a darker version or shade. And using gray will kind of mute it out, neutralize it, and make a tone. So now that I've got the lighting I want, the color I want, we'll just go ahead and dilute it with water, about half and half again, and apply to the white. And the pink lighting was just a completely arbitrary choice, and it kind of works well given how dark the rest of my color scheme for my Convergence ends up being. This is pretty tricky. Again, I have a very limited number of places where I can grip the model like this. Okay, that's it. Let that dry completely, and then highlight and detail, and that's it. Okay, time to highlight. 09125 Scorched Metal. And yes, I'm aware my chair could probably use an entire gallon of WD-40. Line camera. Alright. This is why I say my paint scheme here on the Convergence is so dark, because I'm actually using a darker color to highlight than a lighter one. But again, doing this gives an interesting effect. And then Gunmetal Blue 09126. in this step, your paint's going to dry almost instantly. Not quite, but almost. But that's still going to depend on humidity and temperature. But you're not using any water at all to dilute your paints. You're just, as named, dry brushing, putting using just pure paint. It's still early in the morning and I'm trying to use 3 words when one will do. And that's it. All I need to do now is glue it onto the flight stand, which could show that, but that's going to be footage of me standing still for a good long while in most cases. Okay, that's it. Convergence of Cyriss Corollary is complete. This is going to be the last convergence model for the foreseeable future, but I will do more at some point. And yeah, until next time, Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games, signing out.